Hola Madridistas, welcome to the La Liga preview for our away trip to Cadiz. We had covered all of the injuries and how we predict we'll line up for the next 2 months in a previous episode, so go check that out if you missed it. It even has some moments where, that could get us potentially demonetized, so yeah, don't miss that one. Uh, Back to today's episode. We have the OG himself, Farooq. Talk to us, man. How's your weekend going?
All good, man. All good, man. It's been an interesting weekend. I don't know if you guys saw, but we had a quite interesting Liverpool Man City match. Yeah, so that kicked off the weekend, and yeah, other than that, man, it's just been a lazy weekend actually. Looking
Oh,
forward to the game tomorrow.
I completely missed that one. So, obviously, how much did City win by?
It was a draw. It was a 1-1 draw.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Was it at
it
least
was
fun
a
to
good
watch?
game as usual. Yeah, as usual. Yeah, it's a fun game as usual. When those two guys meet, it's always interesting. Haaland does what Haaland does. One chance, one goal. And yeah, it is what it is.
All right. So, do you just want to get into Cadiz quickly, or should we head into Real Madrid side of things? Feel like
Oh,
switch?
I think it's best. I think it's best to just get on with the Cadiz, and then we go Real Madrid full in full, and then we do our usual lineup and prediction stuff.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because I'm really excited to get into Carlos' quotes today because I feel like he had some interesting ones over the last press match conference. But anyways, this has to be done. Cadiz, not the most exciting teams to preview. They're
Yeah.
right now sitting at 16th in the league. The only thing that's going from them is that they're pretty strong at home, and then we are visiting them away, so that's potentially something to watch out for. So if you look at some of the previous matchups, they faced Rayo, Sevilla, Betis all at home. They've all drawn.
Yeah.
It was all draws, and then they actually won against Villarreal as well. But to be fair, Villarreal are jack shit this season. So until they face us.
Exactly, until they face us, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even their goalkeeper Ledesma had some funny quotes. He was basically saying, we've actually won against Real Madrid before. We can actually do it again. But like
Okay.
the last time they won was in 2020. I believe that was a season where Zidane
Yeah.
was still here, and then it's been a while. So I don't know what that guy is waffling about, but then yeah, he's just basically trying to rile up our players and whatnot. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean that he wants all that. He thinks he wants all that smoke, but I think he'll be in for a shock, man. I mean, considering, as you just mentioned, they're 16th and they're looking to be in relegation battle this year. And the point is, they have the least number of shots taken in the league, least number of goals scored in the league. So it's gonna take something monumental, especially when you're coming against the best defense and the best shot concession team in the league as well. So we basically have been able to shut our shop for a very, very long stretch this season. So I think it's going to be a very, very tall order for Cadiz actually, to be able to break our backline. But then again, if there is anything, like that's one of the things, like we always find a way to stoop low to the level of the opposition we play, and try to make it a contest when it should not be a contest. So, yeah. But I do feel like Cadiz is just not that team to want all that smoke. I think it's just a team that it's all barking without any action eventually, biting.
yeah, I mean, at this point, maybe you jinxed us talking about our defense, especially because, this is coming after the international break. This is potentially a banana peel. We saw what happened with the Rayo game for Barcelona.
Yeah, but I mean, Rayo is not Cadiz. This is the point. Like Rayo is always a team that it's quite interesting to play against. That's the thing. Like there's always a potential stuff here and there. But I think for Cadiz, especially this season, as I mentioned like earlier, like they have the least number of shots taken in the league, which obviously means the least number of goals as well scored in the league. So basically, they are blunt attack wise. So even if they take something away from this game, I don't think it's going to be because of the offensive output. It's going to be lack of our, conversion of chances on our side. That's the reason why most likely they're going to take anything away from this game. So that's why I'm a bit optimistic about going into this game. Honestly,
Absolutely. Like that goes to show, I read the stats. So basically, Joselu has more goals than both of their strikers. So since they line up with a 4-4-2, and that's a
yeah,
state where
exactly.
that's the state where they're at. But like speak, I was also like happy to notice Alvaro Negredo is still playing for them, and it's
Oh,
2023.
oh, wow, wow. I actually thought, oh, it was Soldado that retired, not Negredo then, I guess. I thought he retired actually.
Man, every
Wow.
season we feel like, man, Negredo's this is gonna be his last season. He's gotta retire. But yeah, he's still going strong. He's coming off the bench every now and then, you know, trying to turn back the years. But even last time, I feel like when he faced us, like that was not the Negredo of before. He just isn't a threat anymore. He's just an option.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. I think he's more of the on the cheerleading squad, rather than on the football team itself. He's just an option there, as you said. He's not the primary threat or anything. But yeah, I mean, just that name, always you always carry a bit of threat. The name itself, even if it doesn't necessarily translate into anything substantial on the field, but just the name of Alvaro Negredo will always carry that weight. So I think that's something for the Cadiz squad, to have in their midst.
Mm. Anyways, do you think we're actually taking the Napoli game seriously? Because do you expect a lot of changes in our lineup compared to Napoli?
Okay, okay, Signore Jacob, what do you want to change in the squad? You literally don't have anyone. What are you changing?
If you ask Ancelotti, that's not the case. Like he had a lot of quotes man today, so he basically said he has a bunch of options in midfield. He has a few options in attack as well.
I don't know, man. Obviously, he has, but the question is, he going to use? Like, obviously, Casilla is always an outlet. There's always a lot of options that you can, integrate here and there. But if there's anything, history tells us that, it's all just going to be on paper and just words that will never translate into action as well. He's going to keep saying, I have options, but we never get to see those options. So that's the thing. I don't think, there is a lot of seriousness there, in my opinion, at least.
Mm. No, I mean, let's go through some of these quotes. So let's go one by one. So initially he was asked about the fucking injuries and the international break and whatnot, So he was basically reiterating what everyone is saying, like we need to have lesser number of games. And one funny thing is that he also mentioned that I don't think the players are like, unhappy with taking a wage cut if it means playing lesser games. That was interesting. I mean, he's one who talks to these players every day. So it's like if you lose out on 50K a year or 100K a year, it's not going to break the bank for most of these players.
Oh, really? You think when Vinicius went to sign the new contract, or when Camavinga signed, or when Jude signed the new contract, they were like, "Yo, can you take? We're gonna take less money and let us play less games." I mean, he's just talking, like which is same because if you could remember, even when we talked about what's gonna happen for the next 2 months, we also discussed this. That the point is that as long as these broadcasters are paying more money, they want more games, which means that we have to pay to watch, TV. I was actually saying, earlier to Saint, I was telling him like, it costs $20 to watch La Liga, and then you have to pay for what's in the Premier League. Then you have to pay to watch the Champions League. Then you have to pay, like it's like, you look at all this cost and like, where is all this money going to? So this is the thing, like, these broadcasters are paying billions of euros, to secure this broadcasting rights. So definitely, they will want as much games as possible. And that translates to players getting much more money. Even if Carlo is saying players are willing to do this, the point is not until someone puts their foot on the table, someone substantial say, okay, you'll see, you're offering me 200K, but I will take 150K if it means I pay 5 games less or 10 games less. You understand? Or I'm gonna sit out of the shitty games in Saudi Arabia or something like that. Those Super Cup games and whatever. So these are the things like not until someone actually translates that into action. Like it's just gonna be worse and worse and worse. And the thing is, it always, as I said, always is that the players remain stakeholders in this situation. And until and unless they actually put their feet on the ground and be like, nah, okay, we don't want money. We just want to play less games. So that's the thing. Yeah, it's a very interesting quote to have from Carlo, but even if he's having these discussions with the players, but it hasn't translated into anything formal. These youngsters who are all getting injured, the Judes, the Camavingas, the Chouamenis, the Vinicius is the guys who just all signed recent contracts. They didn't complain while signing the contracts. So I mean, yeah, that's just the thing. We just have to live with this for now. Like people will keep getting injured, and I think players don't have the rights to complain, in my opinion, until and unless they actually make you know, put their money where their mouth is and say, okay, we don't want your money. We are not going to play shitty games in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. I mean, If you look at it one way, I guess it's like really important for these players to go out and get these games in, against Saudi Arabia, right? Because it'll help their brand and whatnot, especially and secure their future. But if you look at some of these international games, the ones against Gibraltar, San Marino, Azerbaijan, you don't want to play that basically. Nobody wants to see that too. But still, like, and it's not that players are getting so with national team call-ups, you get paid on a game-to-game basis. You're not put on a contract like in a club. So I feel like a lot of players will be willing to forego a bit of that if given the choice.
Yeah, again, honestly, it goes back to that issue again as well. We always, try to scapegoat the national teams, but it's not just the national teams. This is the point I'm making here. So, okay, FIFA also is trying to, make the Club World Cup with 25 teams. This is something that affects the clubs. The clubs are basically the primary, source of this. Because what I'm just saying here is that if we have lesser number of club games, then maybe the international fixtures wouldn't be a huge problem because already you play 2 games in a year. That's the thing. Like, okay, I'm sorry, not 2 games in a year. Like you play 2 games every 3 months or every 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the travel is a problem, but then the point is, even if you play 1 game, you still have to travel the same distance.
Mm.
So this is the thing. Like it's not about the fact that okay, like playing against Gibraltar is what makes you get injured. No, it's an accumulation of all of this. It's not that okay, you just show up to play against Montenegro, or you're playing against I don't know Djibouti or something like that, and then you fall in, you get injured. No, it's an accumulation. Everything builds up and builds up, and it reaches the climax, and then shit hits the fan.
Yeah, that's
So
a
this
good
is the thing.
point. Very good point.
So it's not about just one single item. Yeah, I understand. Like for me, the issue I have with international football is the travel involved, honestly, because you go from the European continent all the way to North America. Like, come on, going to Asia is a bit fine. Okay, like going to Africa is a bit fine, at least from Europe. But then going from Europe to North America, like that's or South America, that's like a huge ask. Like that's a lot. So for me, like the travel involved is actually the bigger issue I have with international football. But if you were to ask me honestly, the problem I have is with European club football as a whole. Like I think the fixtures are just not forgiving at all, man. And then we add in unnecessary things as well. So I think it's just that. And then I mean, come on, we even talk about all of this. Like, why is no one talking about preseasons? Where did Real Madrid play their preseason?
But
In the 40
they stayed still in one country. It's not like they were traveling every single day.
USA, bro, and then you travel and then you come back. I mean, the point is what I'm trying to point here to you is that okay, if let's say for example Germany has to play France, okay, and Germany also has to play Albania, the flight hours is 2 hours go, 2 hours come. That's 4 hours.
Mm.
Going to the US is like 12 hours
No,
one
but
way.
that's the thing. They basically stayed in the US for a month. I mean, I don't think that travel is that big of an issue. But then again, US is a big country. They were traveling to multiple cities throughout the tour.
That's the thing. Like you look at that, and then we go to the Premier League teams. The Premier League teams literally have preseason in 3 different continents. They play in Europe, they play in North America, and then they go to Australia and they play as well. And then they come back and be like, "Yo, Haaland is injured." Like, yeah, Haaland is injured. Of course, he is injured. What do you expect?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of things to criticize Jacob when it comes to this. Like, I think it's unfairly people focus a lot on international football, obviously because this is where the injuries happen. But again, I go back to the fact that these injuries, like these muscle injuries, do not just happen all of a sudden. Like they build up. Yeah, okay, they can have a bad tackle and all that. There is that, but like these injuries that just happen all over as an individual injury. Like I kind of feel like, nah, man. I mean, for example, let's take the flag boy of this of this injury is Gavi. Like Gavi has played literally every single game.
Yeah.
And then people will be like, yeah, okay, he was playing for Spain, that's why he got injured. I can understand, the criticism to De La Fuente, like you bench 9 players and then you refuse to bench the one kid who has been playing every single fucking game. But the point is, the guy, no one tackled him. He got injured by himself, which again means it goes back to that sentence of building up. Like, I'm not a medical person, but that's just the thing. It's building up bit by bit, and then it reaches the climax, and shit happens. But anyways, man, let's get back to the Carlo quotes, man. I think we shouldn't
Oh yeah.
divulge too, right?
Pretty much going back to the previous episode, yeah. But yeah, if you want to hear more
Exactly.
about international break and injuries and our views on that, go check that out. But yeah, coming back, I think we're still on to the international stuff, but kind of unrelated. So Carlos asked about his future at the club and if he's going to renew very soon. So he says, in the worst case, you'll just find out in 6 months. And but that's nothing in comparison to a whole life. I don't think about my future. So,
Wow.
so basically a
Wow.
non-answer, yeah.
Exactly. Carlo does what Carly does best.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that a couple of our potential managers were, asked about Carlos' job and if they would like to come back to Madrid. One was, I don't know if you caught it, the quotes from um, Mourinho. So
Mourinho?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Mourinho basically said, "Come on, like Ancelotti is the perfect guy to do the job. I'm very happy here right now," and he's basically backing Ancelotti. The same with Xabi Alonso. They were all like, super happy having Ancelotti in the team, and they're Madridistas. I'm not sure if all of those Madridistas share the same opinion. And of course, I'm talking about you, but yeah.
Yeah, man. Of course, you didn't need to be that subtle, man. We're still wondering why you're talking about who is that Madrista, who are those Madristas. But I think the thing about, Mourinho's coach or like Alonso's discussions is that, like, I mean, they're not going to come and be like, yeah, okay, we want Ancelotti's job, that's the thing. Like, so, and if there's anything, like Ancelotti is one of the most respected, if not the most respected coach throughout, world football. Like, I don't think there is a single coach that you would find or that has, something negative or something bad to say about Carlo. Like, everyone, loves and respect. I mean, even Diego Simeone loves Carlo Ancelotti. I mean, like, that's at the end of it all, so you cannot. So I think their comments are something that, you can just take with a pinch of salt, and, it's not necessarily something really, really serious, at least in my opinion. So because of that, I think it's just fair game.
Absolutely, just PR stuff. Uh, so before we go to the next quote from Ancelotti, we have Ajay Makwana in the chat. So he asks, can we actually rest Fede Valverde and instead start Nico? I mean, yeah,
Bro,
we can do that. We probably should do that considering that Valverde has a lot to travel in the last few days. But then will Ancelotti actually do that? And yeah, go ahead, Farooq. Give us your
bro, I
thoughts.
totally disagree with you, man. If you say we probably should do that, definitely not.
Uh,
Definitely
if
100% not. In a team that's gonna play with Luka Modric and Toni Kroos, and you wanna bench the one guy who's gonna cover for them, play Nico Paz. Come on, bro. I mean,
uh,
bench Modric, but not, like, play someone in place of Modric, but not in place of Fede, man. I can understand your sentiments about he's played a lot of games and the travels and all that. It makes a
no,
lot of
it's
sense
it's
to
it's
rest.
not just that. Like he has literally played the most number of minutes in this season. Like the second is Carvajal, funnily enough. He's literally played that. He has had a lot to travel. And if we had a game to bench him, this would be it. Like we actually don't need him against Cadiz. Like you said, they find it difficult to score and whatnot. I feel like midfield of Bellingham, Kroos and Modric, just with them, maybe even Brahim thrown in, that's still fine. And then if we have to play catch up, maybe we can bring Valverde on later. But I feel like if there is a game, considering that we have Napoli against in the midweek as well, we should probably bench him. Like that
But the
would be
point
my
is this, like,
preference, but it's I
benching him for Nico Paz is something that I would or strongly, object
oh
to,
yeah,
at least in
of
this game.
course. Like I'm not saying like we should start Nico Paz, but then we should probably bench him and maybe Modric takes his place.
I mean, the point is, okay, like, let's go to hypotheticals, like, okay, if you're going to start with Modric and Cruz and Bellingham, you need one third midfielder. If Dani Ceballos is fit, fine and good. I want, you can bench Fede if Dani Ceballos is fit. But the point is, if Dani Ceballos is not fit, who is the other midfielder that is registered to this team?
I
None.
was thinking maybe
It does.
both Brahim and Bellingham start, and then you put back Bellingham just because of this game. Like I feel like we can switch things up a lot for this game.
Bro, I think that's playing too much fantasy football, man. Playing Modric, Cruz, Brahim, and Bellingham to start a midfield, bro. Like, from the beginning, I think that's too much fantasy football, bro. In my opinion, I don't
Yeah.
know, man. Like, I can understand your honestly, like, all the points you made about Fede are very valid, but the situation is that there is no other person. This is why I listed out all the midfield. And at least for me, I am not comfortable. Like, whatever the consequences, I am willing to bear with it. But the point of removing Fede and playing Nico Paz in there, no, bro.
I mean,
I'm willing to face whatever the consequences is, but bro, nah.
yeah, that's true, man. But it's just that it's a dangerous game we're playing, especially with Fede. Like if we lose him, we basically derail the whole season. That's why. That's why I'm really scared. But I
Actually,
totally hear your
Jacob,
point.
Jacob, you
Yeah.
know something?
Yep.
Bench Friday for the Napoli game.
Oh wow. Just because
Because the
there's
point
an
is this:
okay. Go ahead.
Barca has dropped points today.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean, at least up until now, at least I don't consider Girona to be someone who is realistically, competing for the title. At least, like, I
Same.
mean, let's after the turn of the year, we can discuss that. Barca, Atletico are at least for me right now. These are the two people I wonder about. You wanna gather as much points as possible.
That's true. Very true.
Even if you lose to Napoli,
Nothing's gonna happen.
even which most likely will not happen. Napoli is whole shit, and they're coming to Spain. Even if you lose to Napoli, you're gonna play Union. Union is out of sorts right now. You win against Union, you're number one again.
Yep.
In the group. You get the point I'm trying to make here. So when you go to Union, actually, Dani Ceballos is back fully fit. Maybe Arda Güler is back as well, Jude is also fully fit then, So that time you have a lot of rotational pieces.
Yep.
But the point is, the league right now, Barca has dropped points. You have to capitalize on that. Even though if we're saying Cadiz is that, but you still have to go and get the 3 points on board first.
Yeah. You've actually won me over. I feel like, yeah, that's probably the right call to make.
Yeah, man, I think it's gonna be quite interesting. I mean, the good thing about this always I say is that, Jacob, it's good that we're not paid to make all these decisions. We can just sit down here, talk bullshit, close our PCs, go to the game tomorrow. That is Carlo and Davide's problem. What they do, that's their bullshit. But this also just, reiterates, it makes us understand like how difficult it is for these guys to do their jobs, actually. I mean, we can all talk nonsense and, I can shit on Ancelotti as much as I want, but like, the job of coaching a club like Real Madrid comes with a lot of pressure, honestly.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, Ajay. So looks like I don't think we gonna start Nico Pass for this game. I don't think Ancelotti will either. So, anyways, back to more Ancelotti quotes. We also did discuss about, maybe David Alaba is an option in midfield if Nacho plays instead of him. But Ancelotti basically shut that down. He said, no, we have other resources. Ceballos is coming back and he's good. He hasn't played much in the midfield, but we have many resources and we've seen that since preseason.
Oh, what are the resources he's talking about, Jacob? Because I'm struggling to understand what resources.
Bro, the difference is like in Ancelotti's eyes, these players are very adaptable, right? So he basically thinks, oh, like Cruz can actually play CM or Modric can play CM or a striker when push comes to shove. But he's just basically using the same players in multiple positions. I feel like that's part of his reasoning.
I don't know, man, because when you read out the quote and you say like we have multiple resources, I kind of feel like maybe the man has a mine in Congo and they're able to mine some cobalt and some shit like that. I don't know, man. Like, but then
Maybe
what you
this
just
is also a
explained.
PR trained answer, right? He obviously has to say,
Exactly.
oh,
Yeah.
our Castilla players are going to be there and whatnot.
Yeah.
Plus,
That's very true. Very true.
yeah, and then he also mentioned that like we're a bit more lighter in attack than the midfield, but he basically backed up Gonzalo uh, to actually start well because and he had a reason for actually not calling up Alvaro Rodriguez as well. So he said the same thing that Alvaro isn't in good form right now, and he's very similar in profile to Joselu, who we already have. So instead, he wants someone of Gonzalo's player type where he can also play as an inside winger if needed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, and it's gonna be quite interesting to see what happens honestly, because I kind of feel like at this point right now you just don't you just don't know what's gonna happen because we don't, I think this is unprecedented, like since Carlo came back. I don't think we've ever had this much, because our squad is thin this year, as you rightly mentioned in the last episode, is that last year we had people who were filling the squad even if they were not players. Hazard, Mariano, whatever they are. We had people who were there even if they were not players. But now we have the injuries and we don't have that players.
Yeah,
So it might be a bit.
man, I forget even Ancelotti. I feel like this is the weakest squad that we have, that we had to call up so many Castilla players in the last 20 years.
Exactly. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, this is something unprecedented. Like, we haven't seen, this amount of players being out, at least in the first. Because I mean, come on, we have 6 players out, 6 starters. Like, I'm not saying 6 players, 6 starters out.
Yeah, for a
I
long time,
don't
and
think this.
it's not just for this game.
Exactly. Exactly. We have 6 starters out for at least 6 months. That's all, for at least 6 weeks, minimum 6 weeks. We're not gonna get anyone back.
Yeah,
So, like, it's kind of quite interesting to see how this stuff goes on. But yeah, I think this is the time, whether Carlo loves it or not, and he's gonna surprise people like me, because I think it's unprecedented. Like, there is no other choice. Those resources that he's talking about is basically those kids. He has no other choice but to play them.
absolutely. Yeah, I guess that wraps up the Ancelotti quotes. He also had a quote about Fede, but then it's reiterating the same thing. He's basically saying Federico is an option as a pivot, like Cruz could be. If we play with a double pivot as we have lately, then we have many, many options. Ceballos and Modric too. Oh boy.
Oh God! I mean, well, interesting. Well, as a double pivot, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, that's quite interesting though. Playing Danny Ceballos as a double pivot alongside Tony Kroos would be really, really interesting. But
That's what we've
I
been doing, right? But Camavinga is a whole other beast, right? He can actually track back. But the question is, can Ceballos do the same thing?
again, I always try to pinpoint this as gone are the days of Casemiro, where like you have one man that's marshalling everything. Because even the success of Chouameni has been on the fact that he had Camavinga, Bellingham, and Fede already playing alongside him. So like, it's a unit defense. It's not what Casemiro was doing in the past, basically, where he was him against the wall. He was basically Gandalf there. It's not that anymore. So I feel like maybe if you can, that's why again I'm also talking about the fact that Federico Valverde is going to be really, really critical to how we can defend as a unit in the middle of the park. So I think as long as he's in the team, he can at least help to. Obviously, we're still gonna feel that, that deficit of what Chouameni was, what Camavinga is. So we're gonna feel that deficit, but one way or another. But with Fede already, it's gonna be a bit close. But I think Dani Ceballos, honestly, I do believe that. Okay, he's not the player who's gonna start stuff for you, but I do have a lot of belief in Dani Ceballos. I think he can come in and do a job, and at least hold the fort till the guys come back. Yeah, is Dani Ceballos going to win new titles? Definitely not. But like, can he come in and do a job? I definitely do believe so.
Same. Actually, I rate Dennis Ceballos very highly. It's just a matter of if he can get games consistently, and he's not been able to do that so far. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Before we head into the lineups, like let's discuss the elephant in the room, right? Are any of the Castilla players going to start? That's what everyone wants to know. So all three of them are called up, the players that we were expecting: Mario, Martin, Nico Paz, and Gonzalo. The only thing that I would ask you to consider before you like give your take is that Rodrigo just came back. He had a thigh issue. We were all sweating on him, but he made the matchday squad. He looks back to normal. Bellingham, he was actually safeguarded in training. Did you hear the news? Apparently, players weren't allowed to touch him or tackle him during any of the training sessions because of his shoulder issue.
Wow. Well, I would say, like, honestly, like, the thing about again, like, when you talk about, when you guys, you're talking about, I can't remember the name of the guy in the comment earlier who was mentioning about the fact that, okay, like, you want to rest players against Cadiz and stuff like that. I think this is a game like where you don't want to rush Jude back, and you wouldn't feel the effect considering the form that Brahim has shown, at least across the past 2-3 games. I think maybe this is a game that you want to him.
Did you lose your mic?
I don't. Can't you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. It did cut out a bit before.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. So I was saying, like, for the Jude thing, I think this is the game where you want to, where you want to feel like, okay, I can continue this game without Jude, because of the form that Brian has shown across the past 2-3 games, So I kind of feel like if Jude is still being, wrapped in cotton wool, like, do you want to really go to Cadiz and risk him? This is a question that Carlo needs to answer, but for me, the answer will be definitely not. And I think bringing in Brahim, obviously you lose what Jude gives you, but then you also gain a different, set of skills that Brahim brings to the table, and also more importantly, Brahim is in form. You understand? So this is the reason why I kind of feel like maybe this, instead of looking towards resting Freddy, like keeping Jude out of the team might be a smarter option here.
I don't know about that. Like, we were able to survive without Jude because of the offensive production of both Vinny and Rodrigo, right? They actually stepped up their game. Now we don't have Vinny at all. Like, he was, even though Rodrigo was scoring, he was the one who was creating a lot of that chances. And since we're missing him, like, we actually need someone else to pick up the slack.
Bro, I do believe Rodrigo can get this shit done, man. I do think, like, Rodrigo has, especially after the brawl with Messi and the whole Argentina, the whole of Argentina in Maracana, I feel like, you know, I feel that Rodrigo is fired up. So I do believe that, the absence of Vini will also push him to step up even much more. And he's been in form for the past 3, 4, 5 games. Actually, he's starting to, I mean, he's not starting. He's actually remembered how to play football once again. So I do believe that should be enough, playing alongside, Joselu and together with Brahim in the whole. I think it should be more than enough, honestly. But then, yeah, you have a point. But then again, to counter the point is you have Jude on the bench who you can call on for the last 30 minutes if stuff doesn't go your way in the first 60 minutes. You
Very
understand?
true. Yeah.
So the point is just, to try to reduce any external things that can further, exacerbate what we're in right now. Because the point is, if you play Jude and then someone, shoulders him, or like someone elbows his shoulder or something like that, he aggravates the injury, he's out for another 4 games. So that's like you're trying to minimize as much as possible, like what can be the possible bad outcome, until at least, he is back to full contact training and what is not.
Right. Yeah, I totally hear you. But yeah, if I feel like we will have trouble without Vinicius, we need to learn as a team how to trust Rodrigo more and get the offense flowing. But then if we don't figure out, yeah, let's bring Bellingham on. Let's bring all of the guys on. Modern striker. Here we go.
I think Mauritius gonna start the game, bro.
Yep.
When you see all of the guys, I was gonna, go in there and say like, oh, which of the guys are you talking about me? Because as I told you, in the previous one, like, you guys should not be surprised if you see me, wearing the famous white jersey. Like right now, we are back to where the team is on bare bones, and what can we do? Someone who is as tall as myself, I can lend Carlo a hand even if we don't see eye to eye. Let's just spank him a couple of goals and then come back to my, day-to-day duties and activities. But then, anyways.
All right. I feel like we've already got a good idea of how our starting lineup would look like. We've been discussing it, but before we do the final ones, let's go to a couple of comments. So Sunit says, what if he's saying all of these quotes from his heart and is possibly going to give significant minutes to the Castilla boys? I don't know, man. Like, I feel like all of
I
go ahead,
possible,
man.
bro. Definitely possible, definitely possible. Like it's again, it's about the fact that you also attested to that. Like maybe for the past 20 years, this is one of the weakest squads we've had concerning the injuries. Basically how many players are there? We just count, we are unable to even count 5 midfielders right now, and the team needs 4 midfielders.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like like he at this point he almost has no choice, but his hands are gonna be forced.
Definitely. Yeah, the only question is if he's gonna like trust those guys straight in Cadiz, or he has to see more from them in training to give them a bit more trust in the following months. So yeah, let's I feel like you can't trust a lot of Ancelotti quotes because of PR, but this time, like you said, he actually has no option but to actually play them once in a while.
No, that's true. But then again, it goes back to, as you were saying, we have a lot of resources. If he's talking about double pivot now, as you have mentioned in the past, David Alaba starts, and then we have Nacho and Rudiger as a combination. David Alaba is a double pivot alongside Toni Kroos. That's also another thing, So it's, as you said, like it's just a double-edged sword with Carlo, and what history tells us is that he will just keep saying, "Okay, these players are there, but they will never play," So
Yeah,
we're hoping for a surprise. For me, actually, I'm not too optimistic about that. I feel like he's just gonna go with the guys he knows and trusts, and that should be enough for the game. But then, yeah, let's see.
absolutely. And Ashik is in the chat as well. He has basically come onto the pod to roast me. So he says, "Oh, look, Jacob is awake." And he says, it is a debate between Farouk and Jacob. And we sometimes have, and right now he has no choice but to agree with Farouk because Jacob won't even be awake for the debate. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway,
Actually, I don't
so
know. I don't know what happened with Ashik like this season. Actually, Ashik has, automatically he has just flipped to become my side. Maybe, if I draw him to the light, to the side of reality. I remember, we're always having a back and forth with him in the chat. All of a sudden this season, he has understood that he was in the wrong, and he has joined the side, the right side,
man, I
the
don't think
bright
he,
side, and
yeah,
the
it's not that,
side.
and Ashik actually joined the bright. I think you joined the like white side, or you came away from the dark side.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, it's all cool, man. Like, I mean, we're still on with the Sheik, man. Like, it's always fun, having him in the chat, and the back and forth it's always ever interesting, honestly. Like, he's a OG, honestly, of our channel, and we really do appreciate the effort he puts in. So hopefully, for his sake, we hope that Joselu scores a hat trick sometime, at least.
And speaking about strikers, he also has another question. He asks, who heard about Icardi being offered to Madrid? He's a good striker, but that baggage, no Caruso to handle that baggage.
Mauro Icardi is a good striker, and if I'm not mistaken, he's, at least my people who support Galatasaray actually are totally in love with him. And but the issue remains, as you mentioned, just too much, and I just don't see even Real Madrid going for a player like Mario Icardi. Honestly, I just don't see that for us, honestly, especially when we consider the fact that Galatasaray is one win away from qualifying for the round of 16 of the Champions League. Like, would he leave them, when basically the two games they have to play is Copenhagen and United, win one of them and you're basically in the next round. So I think it's looking really, I don't believe too much in that, honestly.
Yeah. So if I get that correctly, if United have to win both games and Galatasaray has to lose, is that how they qualify?
Bro, United are playing Bayern Munich in one of those matches. United wins both.
All right. I mean,
United win both games. They're true, actually. Like, there is no discussion about that. Like, but the point is, United have to play Bayern Munich in one of those games, and the other game they have to travel to Turkey for that. Like, if they were playing in England, fine and good, but like they have to play Galatasaray in Istanbul, and then they have to play Bayern in England. Fine, okay, like Bayern in England, but come on, like Harry Kane is gonna eat those guys for breakfast, man, and then you go to Istanbul is also a very, very difficult arena to go to. Rashford is out of that game, Casemiro, what is the situation with him? You don't know,
yeah,
but
he's out.
I think
Even Mason Mount is out.
I mean, Mount was always a non-factor, anyways. But I mean, the point is, you look at them and you think, okay, if Rashford is out, then where is the goals gonna come from? I mean, maybe McTominay, maybe not. Like, so it's just a bit of a mess right now with United and what is not. But that's their problem. But yeah, about Icardi, I just don't see that, because even if United don't win both, if Galatasaray don't even win both games, like if they draw two games, they're also almost true. Like, just depends on what happens between what's it called, Copenhagen and Bayern Munich, and we're assuming that Harry Kane is going to do what Harry Kane does, so that's why you just you're feeling more comfortable, you're leaning towards towards Galatasaray progressing. But yeah, again, I'm not too sure, but about Icardi, I wouldn't believe that too much. On the other hand, Victor Osimhen, that might be someone.
Okay, yeah. Easy to get him.
Super easy, bro. Super easy. You just need to call my people, man. My people will get in touch with, he's already part of our entourage. My people will get in touch with these people, and it's done.
Yeah. After that, you'll have to get past our very own Papa Flo, because he has a vehement policy against the January transfer window.
Yeah, that's the big downside to that. But yeah, let's see, man. Because I think actually for Real Madrid, like what's gonna happen is that they're gonna be like, okay, all our big guns are gonna come back after the January transfer window closes. Like, why should we buy players? It's gonna be
Exactly.
like basically Vinicius is gonna be back. It's gonna be like a new player. Camavinga like a new player, Chouameni like a new player, Militao like a new player. So like it's yeah, I can understand the reason why they wouldn't want to invest too much in the winter transfer market.
Absolutely. And Ashik has a good question. So he asks, Brahim is a good player and can deliver the goods in most matches, but against a deep lying physical team, he can actually struggle, which is what happened in Serie A with him. And this goes to especially true, like in the last few games where we actually saw Brahim in form. We were all facing big teams who didn't know how to defend. And Cadiz is someone who can actually do that at home.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, I mean that's a good shot, but again, it goes back to that. We are not asking for Brahim to become our to become Jesus and become our matchmaker or something like that. The point is we're just asking for Brahim to go against Cadiz and play 60 minutes, and then Jude replaces him afterwards. So it's just like he's just a placeholder there, and eventually I don't think the game will be locked or the game will be won or lost, based on the movements of Brahim. I think more importantly will be, how Rodrigo adapts, to playing with, Joselu and Brahim together. I think that's a more important aspect. But yeah, I would, I will not be too worried about Brahim playing against Cadiz, honestly. But yeah, that point is not. It's totally right. Like Brahim is, had the issues in Syria as well about the consistencies, the block and stuff like that. But I think uh, I think those, the attributes he has, such as like playing in tight spaces. I think that might be something that might come in handy against Cadiz as well. So, but yeah, I mean, we just have to wait and see. Honestly, like everything is just speculations and nothing is concrete yet. So we just have to go to wait to see what Carlo decides and who starts or who doesn't start. But like if Jody's still not 100% fully fit, I think it's just a risk what they can play in Brahim.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, I don't see any other comments. I feel like we've already covered most of it. So let's head into the lineups. I feel like we've already had a good idea. So up top, we're starting Rodrigo and Joselu. No other options, yeah?
Yeah, bro. I mean, unless if I think Gonzalo was the guy who came in, maybe unless him,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Uh,
think he starts anyway.
yeah, I think it's too early for the Castilla guys to actually start any of these. Maybe 60 minutes once we closed out, we can see some of them. And maybe midweek, we might see some of them. Yeah. So coming to the midfield, obviously, again, we have hardly any choices. We have Jude, Jude be playing or Brahim, maybe Brahim, and then Cruz, Modric, Valverde, for sure. The only question is
Uh,
Brahim starting?
Yeah, I think, as you said, Modric, Cruz, and Fede, I think most likely are lock-ins. I think just who starts alongside them, Jude or, Brahim is the question. But I think most likely they will lean towards playing Jude as well in that game. Because if he's training and, there are, at, no contact training, I think it's just all to fit him into that situation to be able to, go to the game against Cadiz. So I think then with the loss of Vinicius, I think that will just, further heighten the need that I feel like the coaching staff will, feel for playing Jude actually because of Vini's absence. But I kind of feel like there is no point playing Jude. I feel like you can play Jude for the last 30 minutes and let Brahim play the first hour and see how it goes. But yeah, man, I think for my selection, I will go with Brahim. Just Brahim, Fede, Luca, and Tony.
Yeah, I like that selection too because that means that even if things don't go well, like we don't lose Jude at the final stretch of the game, which is where he's the most effective against tired legs when opponents lose concentration and can actually nick a goal when we need it.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Because I just feel like like it's gonna be against Cadiz. Like as we mentioned earlier, like this is a team that doesn't even create chances. They don't take shots. They have the least amount of goals. So it tells us that if anything happens, most likely it's gonna be a set piece or something like that. So even if they have a
Just a
chance, maybe it's
disclaimer. So these guys, who are their strikers? Darwin Machis and Chris Ramos and Roger Marti, they kind of make a makeshift 4-3-3 or sometimes in a 4-4-2. But then all of these guys, they don't create chances on their own. The only times that I've seen them score when I looked at the highlights is when the opponents lose the ball deep in their half and they somehow manage to, find some space. Otherwise, these guys just aren't finding any chances in open play at all.
So that's the point. So like it's gonna be a game where like you're just gonna have I don't know, 3 walls of defense, 4 walls of defense, so you just have to find a way to circumnavigate that. How that's going to be, it's going to be really difficult. So that's just what it's going to look like. I don't think there's going to be a lot of defensive testing there. So it's just going to be a lot of, finding a way to create one chance, two chance. And I think, if we can get a first goal, I think a second goal will come easily because especially if, you score one goal and then they basically have to, then there's nothing to sit back for, there's nothing to protect. So they come out and as we said, like these are guys who don't even create chances for themselves. So it's just gonna be, it's just like, cutting something with a blunt knife, man. You're just gonna keep trying and trying and nothing's gonna happen. So while they're trying, it's gonna open more space in the game and we can, build on that and effectively, kill the game. So hopefully this is we can get an early goal. But then if again going by what we do, we know that we don't do early goals. We only do, early dramas. We are we sleep start when we're starting the game, especially it's even after an international break as well. So I know for the first 10-15 minutes we're just gonna be snoozing there and trying to figure out what it is and what it is not. But hopefully, I believe if we can get a goal in the first half hour, I think it should be smooth sailing afterwards.
Absolutely. Like just to your point about the international break, apart from that, we also have a habit, Ashik was saying, just to let you know, Barca tied today and dropped 2 points. And this is an opportunity for us to pile on the pressure. But we actually have a habit of messing it up when we get into these type of situations. So, another thing to mentally prepare for.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's what I was alluding to earlier. Like Barca's drop point and to Ashik's point, which is very very spot on. Like whenever someone drops this point, like we always just find a way to shit the bed as well. Too. This is what I'm always saying. Like for us, Real Madrid, it's like we play to the opposition we're playing with, right? If we play a top opposition, we bring our A game. If we play a shitty opposition, we also become shit. So that's the thing. Like we just raise or drop the bar to the level of whoever it is that we're playing. So that's one thing that we have to worry about. Like I really do hope we can capitalize on this because gradually, when you start opening, I think we have how many points ahead of Barcelona? 3, 4.
It's 4 or 3. I'm not sure. Not more than that.
Yeah. So the point is, you win tomorrow, then you almost double that. So I feel like it's really really key and important, honestly. I mean, let's see how that go. Actually, right now it's 1 point. It's
Oh,
one
wow.
point actually. They're on 32. They're on 31. We're on 32. So like the point is, we win tomorrow. It becomes 4 points. So 4 points. It's quite it's not significant, but it's something. It's something,
Yeah.
honestly. So that's the thing. Like we need to start finding a way to expatiate this gap and try to at least ease our players. When it comes to that crunch period of the February-March period, honestly. So let's see, man. But I'm really optimistic about tomorrow. I understand what Ashik is saying, but I do feel like Cadiz should be canon fodder, honestly. Like without any disrespect, I mean, this is Real Madrid. Like if Cadiz is not canon fodder, then we should just pack our bags and go home, man.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Last comment before we cover the defense and the goalkeeper. So Sunate says Alex Fernandez versus Nacho Fernandez for the last 10 minutes as well, please.
Yeah, let's see. That's something you should not rule out, actually, especially considering the limitations we have in the squad. Like you might see that in the last minutes, Carlo might decide to swap out this midfielder for a centre back, and David Alaba pushing up. So yeah, that's something that we cannot rule out.
Yeah. Speaking about our defense, do you know if Mendy got called up for the France squad? Because I don't think he did. Didn't he
No,
stay at
I
Madrid?
don't think. No, I don't think he was called up. Mendy wasn't called up. I mean, Mendy is being blowing hot and cold, man. I don't think Mendy was with the French national team.
But he certainly might be helpful in the Euros, so they should probably get him back to, running form with
I mean,
France.
the point is they're playing, Theo Hernandez there, so I don't think Mendy will bench Theo Hernandez, in my opinion.
Man, you don't know. Like sometimes France will be up against the wall, and then only Mendy can save you.
Wow. Okay. I mean, if it's, I mean, I'm not like I have no issues with Mendy, but I feel like if he can regain the form of the Zidane era or Carlos first year, I think that the 20. I mean, I think Mendy of 2019 to 21, phenomenal player.
World's best left
But I
back,
think
in my opinion.
I'm, I'm sorry.
Probably the world's best center back. I mean, left back.
Left back, arguably, honestly, like he had a shout for that within that period. But after that, I think his level has dropped quite a bit. So it's quite interesting to see what it's going to be. But the point is, again, like Mendy is always in and around the French national team squad. If he can build fitness, which is the most important thing when Mendy is concerned, if he can build on his fitness and eventually form, I do believe he will be able to he will be able to get himself back into the national team, especially for the Euros.
Absolutely. All right. So for the defense, it's Mendy, Carvajal, Alaba, and Rudiger. We're not expecting, you know, just after international break. I feel like we won't test or change any of our startups back in the back line.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anything to change about that as well. Honestly, I feel like he's just gonna go with that, and most likely where the change will come will be when we are playing at home against Napoli in the middle of the week. That's when we can see maybe the likes of Lucas Vasquez and maybe even Fran Garcia. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. How about the goalkeeper? So do you have any news of Kepa? Because I don't think he's back yet.
No, I think Kepa wasn't. Sorry, I think Lunin was the guy who was in the. Kepa wasn't in the squad actually, so Lunin is still there. So Lunin is still gonna maintain his position for now at least.
All right. Yeah. Totally comfortable with that. Like, I used to be scared of Lunin starting, but then now, and after the last few performances, not anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like we are always comfortable until the next error. That's the thing. Like because one thing about Kepa is like the reason why actually also I really feel sorry not Kepa about Lunin is that I just feel like as it has always been mentioned is about the fact that we have a coaching staff that literally trains this guy every single day for the past 2.5 years, and they don't feel comfortable with him. So like there is a reason for that.
Yeah.
So hopefully he surprises us like Kepa did to me at least. So uh, let's see how it goes. But yeah, I'm still not too you know confident with Lunin right now. But I just feel like he has a lot to prove. He still has a lot to prove, honestly. And Kepa proved me a lot wrong a billion times. So let's see. Hopefully, Lunin can also not just me, but also the coaching squad who are the more important, people that he has to show that he's the right guy for the job. So hopefully, he can get a sustained run in the team if he can, keep up his form and keep his place also as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess that wraps up the lineups, and just for looking ahead for the next month, Ashik has a comment. So he says, I'm not worried about Girona at all. They'll start dropping points like Boxing Day sale eventually. Yeah. If they don't, then we might have a real fight on our hands. It's their pivotal month. December is probably one of the hardest fixtures. Uh, and so if they make it through unscathed, then we do have slight problems on our hands.
Jacob, actually, even if they come out of December still first or second, I'm still not worried about Girona. I will start worrying about Girona after February.
Mm.
Even Feb, Girona is still in business. Then, my
That's true.
friend, I'm
And
telling
in
you,
Feb, we do
we
face
have
Girona.
Leicester.
So
Even Feb, Girona is still in business, then anyone who is a betting person should start putting money on Girona quietly. you're in for
are you talking
you're in
about
for a
Tonali?
lesson. Actually, the whole betting scandal in Italy is really crazy. Like in the past, apparently, like Gigi Buffon was actually the pioneer of this, and then it happened to this kid, and then Tonali, and then they have Zaniolo, and then they were talking about also this guy from Inter, like Barella. Then they're talking about Florenzi. Like you just like the list is crazy. Like, there's this whistleblower journalist, and he was saying like 70 players, like Italian players, have either placed or done something. So it's kind of really crazy. Like, what's going on here? But then again, betting is something that has to be curbed from the game as a whole. Like, I mean, these guys wear shirts with Bet 365 on them. Like, it's quite interesting. What the whole betting thing is going on about. But then that's away from the scope of our discussion for today, man.
Absolutely. But I didn't know, Farooq, that you were anti-betting, you know. Are you just saying it for the
No,
podcast or?
no. I'm not anti-betting. What I'm just saying is that, like,
Oh yeah, football players
it's
betting
difficult.
on their own games.
No, it's not about that. It's about the fact that it's difficult for you to ask the players to not bet when literally a betting company pays their part
Mm,
of their salary. This is the point I'm trying to make. I
okay.
mean, if you think you're the next coming of Jesus and you can predict the results, man, do your shit, man. Whatever works for you, man. What's my business with your betting? Or I'm just saying, like, for the players, like, it's just like, like, you put someone in a bar and you're like, don't drink alcohol. Like, I mean, you're literally putting them in a sea of alcohol. One day, out of frustration, they will drink it for sure. So
Especially when you have disposable income, you want to, like, play with some of it.
exactly, that's the thing, bro. I mean, I don't know. Okay, we're moving away, but anyways, quickly, did you hear the story of the Gatti guy, the one who plays for Juve? He
No?
literally took around 70,000 euros from his friend
What the hell?
just to play bet.
Oh wow. That is addiction.
Or
Like if
rather,
that's not addiction, I
no,
don't
no,
know
no,
what is
no,
addiction.
not to place a bet, but rather to pay for a bet that he placed.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically, yeah, it's the same thing, which is placing a bet, you understand? But what I'm thinking about is, who the fuck do I go to borrow 70k euros to place a bet?
Bro, if you're
This
in
goes
UA, like you're probably good for it, so people will pay you.
this is the point. Like, this is about the what you talk about disposal, because the point is, okay, like, I mean, my friend is not someone like me. If I was in Gati's position, most likely my friend is someone like, I don't know, the Dybalas, the Vlahovic, and those guys, so like those guys are earning hundreds of thousands every week. So asking them for 70k or for 40k is like chicken change to them. As you said, like, when you have disposable income, like, all this just, it feels like, yeah, fuck shit, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I guess that pretty much wraps it up, unless Farooq, you have anything to add. Oh
Nah,
yeah,
man,
we have
let's
to do
go straight to the
predictions.
prediction.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So what do you think?
Oh, you forgot about the predictions as well, Jacob. Come
I
on,
did
man.
actually. Yeah, I was so excited about Carlos Sports. Totally forgot about it.
You're giving life to Ashik's comment about you're snoozing, man. You're snoozing while you're alive.
Oh boy. Yeah. Go ahead, Farooq. What's your prediction?
Oh, I think for this game it's gonna be a 2-0. It's gonna be not too straightforward, but I think it's gonna be a 2-0 because I just feel like as I say, like like these guys they're as blunt as a screwdriver. So I don't think anything's gonna happen.
Hmm.
At least from the offensive end for them. I just feel like defensively is where the problem is going to be, because definitely it's going to be, the Great Wall of China. You just have to find a way to break down that wall, or the London buses packed up one of each other. So how to demolish that would be the problem. So I think, whoever starts in the hole, either it's Jude or it's Prime, they're going to be quite, important. And I think more importantly, yeah, how Rodrigo performs, or how he, interprets the role that he has to take for this game, will be most likely key to either winning or losing the match. Not losing, but drawing rather. Like, we win or we draw. I don't just see a draw. I mean, I don't know, man. I feel so confident I become like arrogant. I hope I don't come back to eat my words, man. Fucking
Yeah,
hell.
you're getting confident with Brahim as well. We haven't seen him with, any teams of these types where it's a low block. But
Yeah.
yeah, in theory, he should work because he's very dainty with his feet and around tight spaces. But yeah, let's see. I'm actually gonna go with 1-0. I feel like we're not gonna score in the first half at all, and it's just gonna be a very nervy finish. But yeah, I think we still have the goods to get the job done. So 1-0 for me.
Jute time, you're saying. Jute time. What time is it? It's Jute time.
Or
Is that what you're saying?
maybe one of the Castilla kids come on and it's their time, similar to how Alvaro broke onto the scene.
Bro, you've drunk too much Sunil Kool-Aid, man. I think you've had your You've been discussing too much with Sunil that you've drank his Kool-Aid, bro. Calma, calma, tranquilo, tranquilo. Calm down, bro.
One of
Yeah,
these
but
days,
then
Farooq,
if
you're
that
gonna get surprised, yeah?
yeah, man. I mean, that's also something, never count them out. But then, anyways, one thing we can come to a consensus of is that we know that Ashik's player is not gonna score a hat trick today, so that's
Oh
for
yeah,
tomorrow
he has
rather.
his prediction already. He says it's gonna be a 3-1 for Silu hat-trick for sure.
Okay. Ashik, my man, you too also. Tranquilo, calm down, signori. Nothing is happening. I mean, but then that's true. Like, I mean, if you're gonna count a team that Joselu will score against, I think these are one of those teams because it's gonna be just crosses and scrappy goals here and there. And like this is what Joselu does best. Like when there's a scrappy chance in the box, he's there. Like when you're gonna cross the ball, I think yeah, it's not a bad shout to actually call Joselu goals in this game. Actually, honestly, I think it's not a bad shout to talk. But then what is a bad shout is to call a hat trick for Joselu in this game.
Again, Farooq, like you might be surprised, but yeah, let's see.
Let's see, man. Let's see.
All right. Thanks for all of you guys tuning in. I see we still have 5 of you still in the chat. Go on, hit the like button if you haven't already. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. And big up Ashik and Sunil and Ajay for actually making it in the comments. So yeah, before we go, do check out our partners over at Real Madrid Committee as well, and check out our Instagram and our Twitter. The links are down in the description below. Do check all of those out. And we're not going to have any fan cams for this away trip, but then for the Napoli game, we're definitely going to have a lot of fan cams around the Bernabeu. So stay tuned for that and consider giving us a follow there as well. So yeah, before we go, Farooq, you know what to say.
Hala Madrid!
Hala Madrid!